Hello everyone, welcome to Chaudhary Data World channel. Today I am here with a new video on SQL series, that is another command category which is DCL, that is data control language. So we'll be watching out inside that what is login and user, difference between login and user, and why even it is linked to this DCL commands. All these things in detail we'll be watching into this particular video. So let's get started with the video. Before moving ahead with login and user, it is needed to clarify that what DCL command is and why even we are reading this login and user inside it. So let me go back to the very first slide in which I have covered up that whole SQL commands are divided into basically 5 categories. First one is DDL, then DML, DQL, DCL and TCL. DDL, DML, DQL and TCL I have already covered up these 4. The last one which was left is of DCL, which is a data control language in which we generally control the access and manage security level things on the data with these 3 basic commands that are grant, revoke and deny. Now this grant, revoke and deny depends on your security thing, right? Because you need to grant permission to some particular user for some particular object into your whole database. Now what this user is, what this login is, first we need to clarify that. After that we will move with these 3 commands. So just to deal up with this login and user, since because this login and user is only the thing which is prerequisite for all these 3 commands. So we will be checking out that what this login is and what the user is, because both are very confusing, and why even this is getting used into our database and how it is existing into the database. So all these things we will be answering in this one now. So first one we are having is login, and then we will go through user. So suppose if you are having a SQL Server Management Studio, right now I will just show you, this is your SQL Server Management Studio. So actually what it does is, suppose you are having a server, on that particular server you are having many databases over there. Now this server will be authenticated. If somebody wants to go inside that particular server, he must be needing a login credential, correct? So at the server level we are having login. We just log in into the server so that we can be authenticated to see the databases whatever available over there. Now to see the databases whatever it is what is inside of that database, we need a user mapping for that particular database. That means suppose DB1 is having user 1, that user 1 will be mapped to this login. So that particular user will first log in into the server, and then he will be having access of this DB1 and then DB2, whatever it is. So this is how login and user is existing into whole of our SQL server. That means server on the login level and user on the database level. Moving ahead with another diagram which will clear you a lot that what even this whole concept is telling to you. So here you can see that we are having 4 points basically for the data for the user and the login. We'll be clearing out that how both of the things are related, because this is very much confusing for a beginner, that what this login and what this user and how these both are interrelated to each other, and why can't we go ahead with only with login, why can't we go ahead with only with user. So all these things will be clearing it with only these 4 points. So keep patience and hold on this video so that you can clearly understand that what user is and what login is. So first point is a user is a database level security principle, which I already covered up, that in this particular one a user is a database level security principle, correct? That means user exists inside the database and login exists on the server level. So it is clearing that one only. that user is a database level security principle, which you can see that in a particular database, suppose database 1, we can have user 1, user 2, user 3 and n number of users. Similarly, for database 2, we can again have multiple users into it. Moving ahead with the second point is login must be mapped to a database user to connect to a database. There should be a login which should be mapped with each user, which will be shown by this diagram. That this is login 1, that there are multiple login credential. You may assume like this, that there are multiple login credential. Inside that we are having suppose login 1, that is first login credential. Definitely it can be mapped with different users in different database. Correct? A login can be mapped to different database as different user. You can see here that this login 2 is mapped to different data users in different database. Only constant and only thing you keep into mind that one login will be mapped to many users but in the different databases, not into the same database, which will be represented by this diagram. That means what this diagram is telling now, that login 1 is associated with user 1 in database 1, login 1 is associated with user 3 in database 2, but login 1 can't be associated with another user in the same database, that is user 2. Correct? So user 2 is, if you are going to do this particular scenario, if you will try to do it into the database, it will not allow you, because already this user is associated with this login. One user can't have two users can't have one credential, right? And if it will be such, definitely there will be data breach. Correct? So to come up with the solution that everything should be modularized, it is the way with which database management system is working. That means you will be having multiple logins. Against that, you will be having multiple users and multiple users in different databases, not into the same database. This is only thing which make it different from login to user, and this was whole that how login is coming into the picture and how user is coming into the picture. Hope this whole diagram clears a lot, because this one whenever you get any confusion, just go back to this diagram, the things will be clear to you. Now I will again move to previous slide, in which I will just show you in real time that how we can create login, how we can create user, how after that till today we will just cover up how to create login, how to create user and how to create database. These three things we will be watching, because server is already created, databases we need to create, login we need to create, and then inside that table and schema already we saw that how to create table and all. Only thing we will be watching, and inside database how we can create the user. So these three basic things we will be going to watch into SSMS now. We are having this server. This server is right now authenticated with the admin credentials. That means this desktop TE2SLLP/HP is the admin credential. That means this is Windows authentication. When Windows you are signing it up with Windows authentication, the database server, or you may say the SQL server, when you are authenticated with Windows authentication, it will automatically pick up the admin credential. So this time what we will do, we will first create the database as our first part. You can see over here that as first part we will be creating database first. So what we will do, we will come here, click on database, click on new database, we'll just rename it as DB1. Fine. Click on OK. Your DB1 is created in front of you. Similarly, we will create new database, that is DB2. New database 2 is created. Now moving back to the diagram, we are having database created in front of us. Before that we should be having login as well, correct? login should be created. What we will just do, we will copy this command. This command will only be responsible to create the login. We'll put this command over here. Now you can see over here that we are having security folder, correct? Inside the server, at this level we are having security. Inside security you are having logins, where you, whatever login you will create right now, this is the master login, correct? That is this is the admin login. So admin login credential, it has already been picked up, correct? We will be creating another login now with name Gaurav. This will, when we will create, you will be able to see, when you will refresh the login, you will be able to see that Gaurav has been created. Now it's your time now to create sign in, or you may say log in with this particular credential. That means your username, this login credential is going to be Gaurav, and password is going to be your demo@12345. And syntax you already been covered up, that create login and then the name with password, whatever password you want to put. That's it. Again another login we may create similarly. Just we will replace, suppose Gaurav with Raghav, and password let it be same. Execute it. Your another login will be again created. That means you are having multiple logins getting created, correct? Now what we will do, we will go ahead with having creation of users into this. Where user will be created, you can see that, right? User is a database level security principle. So inside the database we are having security principle, into which we are having users. Now there is no user right now into DB1. What we will do, we will create a user for DB1. How we will create it, we are having this particular syntax for that. Create user Gaurav user for login Gaurav. Why for login Gaurav? Because you can see over here that login must be mapped to a database user to connect to a database. It must be mapped to a database user. Login must be mapped. So login, what is the login? Gaurav, correct? For login Gaurav. And there will be a user associated with the database DB1. Then only DB1 can be accessed by this Gaurav. So what we will be doing, we will be creating a user for login Gaurav. Execute it. That's it. Now if you will refresh the users, definitely you are going to get Gaurav user inside it, which means that Gaurav user is the user for database 1 with login Gaurav. Now if you will try to again create some other user with same login, you will end up with some error. Suppose it's Gaurav user 2, if I am going to do. Into the same database, you can't create two users with same login, which we saw here, right? But can only be mapped with as one user in each database. So if we will try to do it, it will end up with error that the login already has an account under a different username, correct? Now what we will do, we will just go ahead with opening the SSMS again. I will show you that what all things we can do with having server authentication. There is new term now. Last time when it was connected, it was through this particular connection was through Windows connection, Windows authentication, you may say. Windows authentication is having feature that it will pick up the admin credential. It has picked up the admin credential as desktop TE to SLLP. Since it is a local server right now, so it has picked up the desktop credentials. This time what we are going to do, we are going to do SQL server authentication to log in as a user. So what we will do, we will just put here Gaurav and then the password as demo@12345, and that's it. You are logged in with as a user this time, or you are logged in as a Gaurav user at this time with this databases access as. You can see the DB1, you can see the DB2 as well, but you will be having access of DB1, but if you will double click on db2, you are going to having that database db2 is not accessible. Why? Just that because we have created this user, Gaurav user, for this db1. Hope the things are getting clear to you. If you are finding this video confusing, see it again. You will get very much clear about each of the concepts, that how it is going on in real time scenario. Now what we can do is, we are having Raghav as another user, now another login. So what we will do, we will again create a user against that login. Here what we will do, we will just change it to Raghav for our convenience purpose. Raghav, login as Raghav, correct? Now if we are going to execute it for db2, we will get that this particular db2 is accessible by this Raghav user. When he will log in with the credential Raghav and the password demo@12345, db2 will be accessible to that particular one, but db1 again will not be accessible to that guy, that Raghav, because this Gaurav user is there into db1, not in db2. And if he is going to log in with the credential Gaurav, definitely he will be having access of db1, not the db2. So I think whole of the, if you will create this user, just you can create it, you can get that in db2. If you will refresh this user, you will not be seeing this Raghav user inside it. You will be seeing this Raghav user inside this db2. You can see over here, right? Raghav underscore user is present now. So hope this diagram makes you clear all that what all things are going inside login and user, and how we are creating multiple databases, multiple users, multiple login, and how they are all interlinked to each other. So that was whole about this video. Thank you so much guys for watching out the video. If you found this video helpful and informative, kindly like to the video, subscribe to the channel, and this see you in the next one with all those 3 commands that are grant, revoke and deny into another video. See you in the next one. Thanks again.